We head out to Beverly with both teams coming in with winning records. St. Mary's unbeaten on the season. And it was a pitcher's duel early on. First inning, Callie Masters gets Danae Layton a swing and miss for strike 3. St. Mary's up 1-0. Top of the second, El Casto gets a punch out of her own as she rings up Landry Riggs. Lady Cadets trying to get going offensively, but that's hard to do, and Masters is on the mound. She gets another K of Taylor Hendershot, both girls dealing to this point. Fort Frye does get on base in the third. Carmen Henniger hits one that drops right in the infield. The throw to first is not in time, and Henniger beats it out. They would not cash in, though. Top 4, Alyssa Windland. She's going to drive this ball into right center field for a base hit, and she'll slide into second for a double. St. Mary's trying to extend its lead. Windland then looks to steal third, but Danae Layton makes a good throw to Jaden Brown, who gets the tag down for the out. But St. Mary's will go on to win this one 5-1 over Fort Frye to stay undefeated. We go across the way as the Fort Frye baseball team hosted the Parkersburg South Patriots in another interstate clash. Skipping ahead to the top of the fifth, Dylan Holliday with a line drive into right for a hit. That's a single as South leads 1-0. And they add to it with Easton Walker hitting a blooper into left field for another hit. Ty Davis scores. Holliday is right behind him, rounding third, and he's able to slide home safely as well. Walker with a 2-run double to make it 3-0 Patriots. In the top half of the sixth, Ashton Burr hits a grounder that gets through for yet another hit. He gets on base with a single of his own. Later in the inning, South looking to extend the lead, but Grady Hessen strikes out Landon Ott. That's the first out of the sixth. Now at 2 outs, TJ Thomas trying to steal second. Wyatt Dusky with a rope to Wade Dusky. They wait for the signal, and the umpire calls him out to retire the side. Bottom of the sixth now, Dylan Holliday catches Clayton Miller looking for strike 3. Parkersburg South goes on to pick up the 3-0 shutout victory over Fort Frye.